are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Answering all parts of the essay question. Now, I've corrected easily over 1,000 essays, and this is one of the most heartbreaking problems I see when I see an essay, because the student has written in beautiful English and it's a beautifully structured essay. It's full of C2 vocabulary, Band 9 vocabulary. It's eloquently written. It's all academic English. It's all hedged. It's got all these beautiful stylistic features. But it's the wrong essay. They've answered a question in their head rather than a question that's in front of them. In our online course, we give you a foolproof method on how to solve this problem. We go into it in much more detail, but I created this method because I was fed up. I was sick and tired. I was absolutely irate with seeing and upset with seeing students write the wrong essay, and it gets even worse when, their chances of getting to Canada or staying in the UK or studying in Australia, if that's all in jeopardy, if it's all wasted because you answered the wrong question. So after too many times of seeing students answer the wrong question, I thought, okay, we need a system, and we need to put this system into our online course as fast as possible. And this is the system that we came up with, okay? And it's quite effective. We go into it in more detail, and we make sure in the online course, because we review your ideas before you start writing. We review your essay ideas, and we make sure you've got this skill, that not only that you are capable of consistently generating quality ideas, but they are accurate ideas as well. Okay, so although I'm sharing you very briefly the system, in the online course we go into more detail and we make sure that you understand it. And by the way, the name of this tutorial is Answer All Parts of the Question. We called it this because this is one of the data points that is included in the online essay checking tool. So when you're using this tool, on the right hand side, after you've entered your question and you've pasted your essay and you've submitted it, you will see this as one of the points that will come up either in red or in green, depending on how well you've done. Okay? And we're seeing a lot of students struggle with this, not only from our human essay corrections, but from using the tool. So with this technique, I'm going to share with you how you can avoid it. Right then, one last thing before we start. Let me tell you who I am. My name's Ben Worthington. I'm from England. I'm from the north. You may have intuited this from my accent, although it is pretty clear nowadays. There are still some vowel sounds that come out typically northern. However, why don't I sound like a typical northern anymore? Well, I spent the last 20 years outside of England, and most of those years I was teaching English, and I eventually specialized in teaching the IELTS exam. How did I get good at teaching the IELTS exam? Well, I started IELTS podcast, whereby we interview all the experts around. Language experts, linguistic experts, ex-IELTS examiners. And I test what they tell me. If it works, I put it in the online course. If it doesn't, I throw it out there and I just get rid of it. So that's why you can be certain when you join our online course that you're going to get real practical advice that will get you to Australia, to the UK, to Canada, to the US, wherever you want to go. Let's do this. So answering all parts of the question. Let's have a look at a typical question. Typical task 2 question. In many workplaces, online communication is becoming more commonplace than face-to-face meetings. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? So what we do is we generate a few ideas for body paragraph 1. Some tutors, usually amateurs or tutors who just really don't understand IELTS, tell you to start with your introduction, which as an amateur is probably a logical thing to do, but as an experienced professional, starting with your introduction is a disaster. What you need to do is get it clear in your mind what you're going to write about before you start with your introduction. Okay, so this is why we start off with a few bullet points, a little bit of brainstorming, especially before the exam. We do a little bit of brainstorming. Some amateur tutors say brainstorming is bad, but they've obviously never written an IELTS exam. They've obviously never written an essay. They've obviously never tutored anybody, because you need to develop this brainstorming skill. Now, in the exam, you do not obviously sit there for 30 minutes and brainstorm. However, at home, sit there 10, 12 minutes, generate ideas, do some research, fill your head up with ideas, and then start your essay. Give yourself time. Be patient with yourself. You know, this is a difficult process. So let's go. Ideas. I agree. Okay, I agree online communication is becoming more commonplace than face-to-face. Why? Well, we recently experienced a pandemic. This forced companies to go remote, to switch to remote working. Second, I agree because the pandemic made it unsafe for face-to-face meetings. Cough, cough. So we've got 2 ideas there. And in my notes, I said I'm going to develop this a little bit further and give some examples. Okay? And I think that's enough. So am I answering the question here? Is online communication becoming more commonplace than face-to-face? Okay? I'm not talking about the advantages here. I'm just saying I agree. It is becoming more commonplace than face-to-face because companies were forced to go to remote to carry on working. 2, the pandemic made it unsafe. Okay, so it's mainly because of the pandemic. Those are my ideas for body paragraph 1. Now, what did I do there? It might seem quite straightforward, but I want to make it really explicit for you in case you get a different style question. You get your position first, and you double and triple check. And you can do this just by simplifying the question, getting your position, and then start thinking of some ideas. Body paragraph 2. Okay. To what extent do I agree or disagree with the fact that online communication is becoming more commonplace? I strongly agree because there are lots of advantages, such as there's no travel costs for their employees, and it's also better for the environment. Yeah, I think we are veering a little bit off there. We're kind of sort of like swinging dangerously into the advantages. So this is probably not going to be optimum task response. It's probably not going to get the optimum task response score. Now, this is what happens when we don't catch the error early. You know, so if you started your introduction and you included, I agree because of the pandemic, and I also think there's lots of advantages to it, and it's better for the environment, and then once you start with your body paragraph and you're like, oh, it's actually wrong. My second body paragraph's actually wrong. Now you've got to go back and change your introduction as well. So this is why we always start with our ideas for body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. Conclusion. Is this a good or bad conclusion? Yes, I strongly agree that it is becoming more prevalent due to the numerous advantages. These include the cost, environment, and the safety. I mean, it's not a total train crash, as we say. It's not a total disaster, but it's not perfect either. How could we make it better? Well, we could say that there are some, it's becoming more commonplace due to the pandemic. Body paragraph 1, we've got our reasons there. And then in body paragraph 2, we could say, I disagree with the statement because the pandemic is over. Businesses are asking the workers to come in more often. Some are even mandating it. Lovely verb there. Secondly, it is a well-known fact that face-to-face meetings are more effective, more productive than online meetings due to the extra communication such as body language and social cues are picked up better face-to-face than in online meetings such as Zoom and Google Meets. A recent study showed, and then we can go in and give the evidence. So I think that would be a more optimum way to answer, to get full points for task response. Body paragraph 1, I agree. Body paragraph 2, I disagree. Rather than dangerously drifting into the advantages. So here's another possible conclusion. I want you to tell me if it's good or bad. I strongly disagree that it is becoming more prevalent. It is just a temporary phenomenon, and after the pandemic, online meetings will be scrapped entirely. Masks might become commonplace and everyone will be immune. Now this is a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. I've talking about masks, which is semi-related. I'm saying that online meetings will be scrapped entirely, which isn't really answering the question. The question is, online communication is becoming more commonplace than face-to-face. Okay? So that's a poor conclusion. And this just goes to underline why we want to generate ideas, generate positions first, develop those positions for our body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. From those, we double check the question, and from there, we get a rough idea for the conclusion, and then the conclusion is kind of like what we're going to write in our introduction anyway, okay, in most cases. Let's do one more question. The increasing demand for oil and gas has made it necessary to look for these energy sources in remote and untouched natural places. Do you think the advantages of locating oil and gas in these areas outweigh the disadvantages of damaging these places? Quite a lengthy question, so you probably want to read it a couple of times and make sure your simplification skills are on point. What does that mean? Make sure that you're simplifying the question accurately. How do you know you're simplifying the question accurately? Well, on our online course, we give you an exercise whereby you have to simplify the question and generate ideas, and we'll give you feedback on the ideas, okay? Just to make sure you're on the right track. Let's go. Body paragraph 1, brainstorming a few ideas. Due to the isolated nature of these areas, energy sources are usually found in vast and large quantities. Fine. A large quantity often means an increased supply, which means lower prices for the consumer. So that's really answering the question. Do you think the advantages of locating oil and gas in these remote, untouched areas outweigh the disadvantages of damaging these places? Okay, so this is body paragraph 1. Basically, I'm saying they're usually found in large quantities, which eventually might mean lower prices for the consumer. So that's one of the advantages of destroying and wrecking the environment, is that I can get a toothbrush for, 80 pence instead of £1. Lucky me. Okay, a bit of sarcasm there. Okay, body paragraph 2, disadvantages can be incredibly dangerous in these remote places, and it can be there can be oil leaks or natural disaster, oil spills, with these drilling, look at the horizon in the Mexican Gulf, and there's a long list of environmental disasters that have happened. So body paragraph 2, the disadvantages. Rough conclusion. Again, I've sketching out a rough idea for body paragraph 1, a rough idea position for body paragraph 2. Then I get the conclusion. Once I've got those 3 clear, now it's a case of just dropping those ideas into the framework. Essay writes itself, and hello, Canada. Advantages such rough conclusion. The advantages such as the huge benefits for the economy outweigh the disadvantages, brackets, danger. Of course, it's too short. Of course, it's too basic for my real conclusion. That's why I said it's just a rough conclusion. I can flesh it out later by dropping it into my framework for the conclusion. But there we go. We're on topic. Pretty much, I took the economic view. I want a toothbrush for 20 pence cheaper. Do I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe this? No, I think it's ridiculous, but it's just an easier argument to make. And I don't have to strongly believe the position I'm writing about, okay? Do not get emotional about this. So if I were to refine this conclusion, I would say, although there are disadvantages such as potential environmental accidents, there are tremendous benefits for the economy, which ultimately benefits more people. If we ignore the fact of those people in the developing country who now have to drink polluted water for the rest of their life. Okay, so again, just being a little bit more sarcastic here, but what I'm saying is I'm just going for the easiest answer at the moment to explain. Okay, maybe if I did take the side I honestly believe in, maybe my emotion would get the better of me and I start preaching about natural disasters and whatnot. Okay, so this is why you've just got to, as a Spanish friend said to me once, is Ben, leave your pride on the door when you go in. Anywhere you go, just take your pride off your shoulders, hook it on the door and walk in. Okay, this is similar. Just leave your emotions at home. We want to get you to Canada, to Australia, to the UK. And we're not going to do that if you're getting all emotional about environmental disasters, however tragic they are. The point is, for this IELTS exam, is not to convince the examiner that these companies are evil. The point is to get you a better life for you, for your family, to show your parents you've passed the exam, to get these grades, to change the course of your family line. Don't forget the end goal. This is what we're here for. This is what I'm here for, to get you there, to get you to the UK, to get you to Canada. Okay, and we're not going to do that if we're getting all emotional about an essay topic. Let's go. Is this conclusion good or bad? Same question. Although new energy sources can help the economy, I think it's time to transition away from fossil fuels and start using nuclear power. This is one of the cleanest fuels available and is practically limitless. Therefore, we would no longer need to explore the hard-to-reach places for new minerals and materials. Error, massive error. In my previous body paragraphs, I never once mentioned nuclear, so I'm definitely not going to mention nuclear power in my conclusion. Definitely not. Okay? There are some elements there that are on topic, but overall, it's a poor conclusion. It's off topic. And this is what happens. If I were, for example, imagine I was a strong believer in nuclear power, I could be tempted to write this in my conclusion and ultimately fail the exam. So, as I said, let me just outline the process one last time. We simplify the question. We generate a couple of ideas for body paragraph 1. Brainstorm a couple of ideas for body paragraph 2. Double, triple check we're on topic. If we develop them now, if they are inaccurate and we carry on developing them, then we're just going to have a developed paragraph that is off topic, which we definitely don't want. Okay? So we double, triple check. Once we've got our ideas, we drop them into framework. We drop them into these universal sentences, Band 9 framework, and we are away. We are off to the races, as they say. Now, as I said right at the beginning, answer all parts of the question is one of the data points we check on our online essay checker, which is free at the moment. It's free for you to get your cohesion and coherence score, your lexical resource score, your grammatical range and accuracy score, your task response score. All of those scores are free at the moment. Soon they will not be. They'll only be available to paid subscribers. Okay, so get moving with that. Also, at the moment, when you do upgrade, you're going to get a free course to help you with your essay writing, where we give you a basic framework to help you get started, and we just give you more tools and more advice, mainly vocabulary and essay format, structure and ideas. Okay, those are the main essay topics. Those are the main topics we cover. And you get that when you become a paid subscriber. So if you want to improve fast, if you want to get that fast feedback, if you want to get to Australia, Canada, or the UK as soon as possible, have a look at that tool. It's available at IELTSPodcast.com. All you need to do is go to essaycheck.IELTSPodcast.co/draft, and you'll get your essay evaluated for free at the moment. So that's it from me today. I wish you a beautiful day, and just remember, like, you're doing this IELTS exam so you can get a better life for you, for your family, for your parents even, and just don't lose sight of that. Just remember, like, when you're sitting down, like, okay, I'm writing this essay not to show the examiner I'm an expert in nuclear energy, not to show the examiner that everybody's wrong when it comes to exploring for new natural resources. No, you're writing this essay to get a better life, to get yourself into the course, your dream university in Australia or in the UK, wherever it is. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And I honestly believe everyone can do this, with the right training and with the right guidance. You can do this. You've learnt your own language. You've probably learnt another foreign language. You've come this far in English to understand me. Maybe a couple of years ago, you couldn't even understand me. So imagine the progress you've made. So keep moving forward, and you will get there. You will get to your Australia, your Canada, your Melbourne, your Sydney, your London, even Scotland. Even Scotland. Wherever you want to go. Okay, have a super day and good luck with your IELTS preparation.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.